let's talk about the COVID Coach app. I don't know that the name of COVID Coach on this app actually really covers everything that it does. It's not the greatest name because it's really what it is a completely free, completely, like they'll never ask you to pay for anything, sort of mental health app. All right, and I'll show you some of the features of it. There's many, many things it can do. And it was actually designed by the Administration for Veterans Affairs, for veterans specifically. But the thing is, there's very little on it that is actually that particular to veterans. So much of this is actually just about general mental health and taking care of yourself. So it's a really, really useful app. And I think it would probably get more attention if it had a different name. But let me just show you some introductory things about it, and then we'll look at some of its features on the app. And it was designed, I think, in 2020 as COVID started. And again, there's some resources on here that are specifically about COVID, but a lot of it, again, is just general kind of mental health guidance. So I'm going to show you how you can find this in your App Store or in the Play Store. This is just the website about it. So you can actually download it from here as well, from the website if you're on your phone. But I wanted to show you this just so you see it's available in Spanish. It'll give you the links to where you can download it. But then too, there are two PDFs here. One is just a flyer that tells you some information about what you can do on the app. The other one is something that you might be interested in once you look at the app a little bit more. It's a 30-day challenge where you get to learn the different features of the app. And I think it's really helpful just because there's a lot that you can use it for. And you can use it for one or two things, or you can use it for a whole range of things. It's up to you. It'll give you a more sort of in-depth sense of what you can do with this app. So let me share my phone and just show you what this looks like in practice. So again, it's just like any other app. You want to go to your App Store, your Play Store, and you're going to look up, I've got it up already, you're just going to look up COVID Coach. And you'll see it on here, and it says U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Again, that's who designed it. You in no way need to be a veteran in order for this to be useful to you. Okay, so when you do this, you'll see it where it says download. I'm just going to say open because I've already downloaded it. And we're going to see, this is the opening screen that you'll see, something that looks sort of like this. Probably a different quote and maybe a different animal on that mood check. But this is generally what it'll look like. So just to give you a little sort of sense of what's here. So the default is that it'll start with this quote, like there'll be a quote for you every day. And it'll generally be something sort of inspiring. This one from Sandra Cisneros says, "The older I get, the more I'm conscious of ways very small things can make a change in the world. Tiny little things, but the world is made up of tiny matters, isn't it?" So just something to think about as you think about your own mental health, your own sort of place in the world. And then you'll have these four sort of areas to choose from. And each of these has a whole bunch of different features. So you have the managing stress menu, you have learn, you have mood check, and you have find resources. So each of these is something that you can look at and just sort of go through, whichever one sort of speaks to you in the moment that you're opening the app. So if you're opening the app and feeling particularly stressful, or if you feel like you need to check in about your mood, just follow the one that feels right to you, okay? I want to go to find resources first. The find resources one is maybe one of the most straightforward features of this app, but it's really helpful. So I'm going to click on this find resources here, the one in the bottom right-hand corner in this square. And you'll see kind of a long list of different resources. So crisis support, substance abuse support, there's local resources for COVID-19. There's a lot of things on here, but what I want to look at right now is this one at the top that says crisis support. Okay, so it's a little, what is it called? Life preserver. So click on that. And it gives you a whole bunch of different options for if you are currently in the midst of any sort of mental health, domestic violence crisis, all right? Substance abuse crisis. So if you scroll down, you'll see there's the suicide prevention lifeline. And if you click on where that phone is, so right here, that will connect you directly with them. So this is a really good hub of resources in case you are in a crisis situation. So this is like if things are, if you need immediate help, all right? So I just want to scroll down a little bit more, the sexual assault hotline. I just wanted to point out the domestic violence hotline here. So if you find yourself in a domestic violence crisis, that is this, you can either call or text the domestic violence hotline. So you can look at these some more, but really there's resources for all sorts of different elements of wellness and health here. You'll see even like where you see meeting your needs, there's information about, you know, how to get food stamps or how to access food pantries, all sorts of different things, okay? So I'm gonna go out of that area real quick. So just know that find resources if you're ever looking for sort of an outside connection to another organization, if you're in crisis or something like that, that's a place to look, all right? The other stuff, and again, they have a sort of disclaimer on this that, you know, you're not supposed to use this in place of mental health care or mental health treatment. So if you need to see a therapist or you need to take medication or something like this, this isn't meant to take the place of it, but it is definitely meant to sort of help you like deal with your mental health as days go by. And you might not be somebody who needs any sort of mental health treatment, but we all get stressed out. We all need to take care of our mental health as things get, you know, even more strange in the world. Things get stressful. So this is a tool for you to be able to do that. And you could do it either as its own thing or, you know, in combination with therapy or something like that. So let's look at manage stress. We all need to manage stress. All right, so you'll see a lot of these are really sort of intuitive menus. So let's say you just want to talk about ways to cope with stress, okay? So you see this coping with stress, we're going to click on that. All right, and so it gives us try to do this for 5 minutes. And what it's going to give us is, you know, some things to focus on, you know, as we're thinking about this. So just different sort of activities that we can do in the midst of this. And it's giving us like, you know, a 5-minute break in order to do some of these things. And some of these might be things you want to do, and some of these things might not appeal to you at all. And that's fine. But if you find one that feels right to you, take your 5 minutes and try and do this. All right. So that's one thing. There's just a whole bunch of different things on here. So if you go to this, so this will do a body scan with you. So you can, while you're walking, you can listen to this sort of mindful meditation. There's a bunch of different things in here like this, but it'll talk you through this. It has subtitles on it as well. But this will actually do a guided meditation for you that you can listen to while you're walking. Then you'll see again, so navigating relationships, sleep struggles, feeling sad or hopeless. So we're under the challenges menu right now. Let's look at tools. This is kind of my favorite place within this app right now, at least, of what I found is, you know, this is things that actually are very like concrete that you can do in your daily life to really, like, especially if you find yourselves in times of intense stress, to kind of cope with that. So one thing that I did as part of that 30-day challenge is I did a body scan, but it's very much like focusing on your body and keeping you sort of here in the present moment. There's 2 of these in here. One of them is 9 minutes long and one of them is 16 minutes long. And I find them really, really helpful, especially, like I said, if you're intensely stressed out. So you can go in and just play this body scan. Just go to a quiet place, put on some headphones, or if you're alone, you can just play it out loud and do the different steps of this. It'll help you to breathe. It'll help you to think about where your body is in space right now. And it definitely helps to calm you down. I found that really helpful. And you can, what I actually did, because I liked the body scan so much, if I go back to home, I put it at the bottom here. So like I added a favorite, so you can just add a favorite of any of these different things in this app, if it's something that you found particularly helpful for you. And then it'll end up down there at the bottom, so you don't have to go navigating for it every time. So let's look at some other tools in here. So we have ambient sounds. So you can play birds in the background. You can have like, the sound of frogs or water or something, just to have a sort of white noise in your background. If you go to somewhere like Change Your Perspective, it'll give you things to think about, in terms of, if you're feeling particularly hopeless or anxious, it'll give you some ways of thinking about where you are right now. Deep breathing, it gives you guided deep breathing exercises, ideas for outdoor or indoor activities. And all these ones that have little headphones on them, all of those are audio things. So all of those are generally like kind of an exercise that someone will walk you through with audio. I've tried a lot of those and I think they're quite good. So positive imagery. So it'll even take you on sort of like a walk along the beach, or, a visualization of a forest. This one too I like a lot is this tool called self-compassion. It'll talk you through like ways of thinking about yourself with compassion. And there's like a whole bunch of different options here for these guided meditations on self-compassion. If you have a tablet, you can put this on your tablet too. It doesn't have to be on your phone. So again, sort of follow your mood on this if you're going in here, and just sort of look at the prompts and which one seems like the right thing for you right now. So that's the manage stress area. And I encourage you to poke around in there and see what works well for you. Learn is what it sounds like. So it gives you tips on things like staying well, staying balanced, staying together. So that's about relationships, a lot of that. So some information on like how to fight fairly, how to notice positive things, even things about parenting during the pandemic. So this is just a source of sort of advice and information about how to like maintain your relationships and stay well in the midst of COVID, like managing irritability. So these are things that you will generally read, and then it'll give you related tools to go with it. So if you're feeling irritable and you go in here and you're like, okay, I need to think about how I can manage my irritability, you can read this, and then you can give yourself a timeout. You can give yourself 5 minutes of like checking in with yourself. You can do a deep breathing exercise or do positive imagery. So just follow your sense of what you need in that moment, and it'll give you tools to go with the thing that you're learning. And again, like you'll see, there are some things in here that are about COVID. So like managing mask anxiety, or there's one in here that's about uncertainty about the future. So as we're dealing with things like, COVID new variants and stuff like that, and we're having anxiety about that, you can look at that and say, what tools might I use to think about this? So it might encourage you to do a grounding exercise or to do a deep breathing exercise. And then mood check is a way to sort of keep track of how you're feeling over time, which I think can be really helpful, because from day to day, sometimes it feels like, that how you feel is like this permanent state or something. So it's good to see, if your mood or your sense of well-being is going up, or if it's going down, or if there's a change in it over time. So it gives you some options here to track specific parts of your mental health. So it could be overall well-being, it could be anxiety, your mood. I'm just going to look at well-being for right now. And what this will do is it'll ask you a series of questions about how you're feeling right now. All right, so just to give you a sense of what they are, like, over the past 2 weeks, have you been feeling optimistic about the future? And you can say any of these answers. So let's just say, I'll say some of the time. Then have you been feeling useful? And none of these, whatever your answer to this is, just answer it honestly, because you're trying to get a sense of where you are right now. So you go through these 14 questions, and they'll give you a sense. It'll sort of plot on a graph where you are right now. And say you do it in a couple of days and you're feeling a little bit better. You can see that, the things that you've been doing, or the sort of things going on around you, you can see what works for you, basically is what I'm saying. You can see if there's particular tools that have helped you feel better. And if they have, then you can keep using those. If you're feeling worse, then you can think about what might help you, or if it might be time to reach out to one of those resources. And this will give you advice on that as well. If you say, like, I have not been feeling optimistic for 2 weeks, I've been feeling, really run down, really sort of sad and depressed, at some point it'll say, maybe it's time to reach out to somebody. And that can be really helpful because sometimes we can't sort of we have trouble figuring that out for ourselves. So these are all very good to kind of get a sense of where you are and where you're going as far as your mental health goes. Again, you can do general well-being, you can do anxiety if anxiety is something that you struggle with, your mood, and then also PTSD. So this app, like I said, was initially like introduced to veterans, but anyone can have PTSD. Stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's responses that you have in your mental and physical self after having a very stressful experience. Okay, so it could be many different things. There are a lot of people that have PTSD from all sorts of abuse or past traumatic incidents. If that is something that you struggle with, then this is a place that you can track that as well. And it can be really helpful to see how you're doing in relation to that over time, especially as stressors like COVID keep happening, and just, the sort of bizarreness of the world right now and the violence and all this stuff going on. It's a really tough time to cope with things. So this can be a good way for you to measure that. And then there's a place on here where you can set a goal, and that can be helpful. So let's say you just want to, you want to give yourself 5 minutes every day to meditate. Let's just say that's your goal right now. All right. So you can write your goal in here and say, I want to meditate for 5 minutes a day. And one thing I like about this app is that it doesn't push you to do anything. You can do anything you want at your own pace. And so I'm going to say, let's say I meditated for 3 minutes today. So I was pretty successful. But then again, I can track this over time, no judgment. It's just like I'm working on, getting to a place where I'm meditating for 5 minutes every day. And it could be any kind of goal. It could be, to take a walk outside, or to, write in your journal or something like that. Just something that is sort of supporting your sense of well-being. So there's that as well. I think those are the basic features. Again, there's a lot going on in here once you start digging around. So this is the 30 days of self-care. And it's just what it is it's just a document that tells you, that guides you through a whole bunch of different activities. Okay. So I'm just scrolling through it. This is the general calendar, but it breaks it down into what to do with each one. So for the first one, it says start simple with deep breathing. So it'll tell you how to access the deep breathing exercise within the app. So you'll go to manage stress, tab on tools, and go to deep breathing. So it walks you through how to get to these different places within the app, how to check in on your mood, like we just looked at. So if this feels like something that could be helpful to you, this is a good way to really get to know what the app can do. And you might not want to use, all the features or a bunch of the different features. There might be one or two that are helpful to you. Totally worth it. It's a free app. So, so feel free to use it however works for you. And let me know too if you try this app out and you find it helpful. I'm still trying to figure out all the things that it does. I think that I was looking at mental health apps to introduce to you and to the youth. And one of the things that I was struck by with so many of them is that they cost money, or you'll get in there and, something will, you'll have some features, but then it'll ask you to pay for other things. This one is totally free. And it's like, you don't need an added level of stress of having to pay for something when you're dealing with a mental health app, I think. So I do feel like there's a couple things going for this one, that it's free. It doesn't pressure you to do anything in particular. You can use it at your own pace. And I do feel like the information on it is really good.